Well, Harry, it's great to reconnect again today. And though you and me go back more than a decade when we were at law school together, our families go back even further because I believe you met my wife almost 2 decades ago when she was dating your younger brother, Dan. So lots of interesting overlap here.
Yeah, it's fun. It's great to see you again. It feels like yeah, reconnecting old friends.
And I believe you were there when I had first applied to law school. You were a year ahead of me, or so was it? Were you a year ahead of me or 2 years ahead of me? I forget. Do you remember?
Oh, I think one. I went in 2009.
So you
So
graduated 2012. Okay. So yeah, I'll edit that out. So you were a year ahead of me. And when I went on a like recruiting visit, I remember you were there at lunch. So I met you clear back then. It's great to reconnect again today. And I'm excited to fill in some of the gaps since we last interacted in law school. So, first of all, why did you decide to become an entertainment lawyer?
you know, I've always been very passionate about the arts, music, film, and TV, especially. I'm a singer-songwriter. I've been making music for 25 years now. Been in a number of bands, Imagine Dragons included, for a little while. And I saw it. I knew I didn't want to choose that as a career path, either film and TV. I love acting. I did a lot of acting in high school. I knew I didn't want to do that or sing. I mean, I probably wasn't talented enough for either, but I didn't want to be famous for a living, and I didn't want to be away from my family and traveling all the time for a living. And I knew that comes with the territory if you're going to be an artist. So at least in those fields. So I'd chosen law. I have a ton of lawyers in my family, and I didn't know at first what kind of law I wanted to do. I did have a brother practicing entertainment law, but I was also really interested in tech. So I was kind of studying a lot of different things at law school. Your first summer, you do an internship, and I had lined up an internship with a big tech company, and it fell through a couple months before the summer started. Um, they weren't going to have a program after all. So if they didn't like me, they just weren't going to have a program. So I was like, oh shoot, what do I do? So I reached out to my brother who was practicing entertainment law, music entertainment law. And I said, can I come work for you for the summer? He's like, yeah, definitely. So I did that. And actually a week before summer started, the tech company came back. It was Amazon. It was their Kindle division. They're like, hey, we want you after all. And I was like, oh, too late, forget it. So I did music entertainment law that first summer, and I just really enjoyed it. And that kind of crystallized things for me. But I was more interested in film and TV. And I ended up getting my second year summer at a firm that had a legit entertainment practice in film and television. And I had known the professors from a class I took at law school. Um, and that's kind of how I got to it. I thought, I love this field. I want to work in it. I want to be adjacent to this kind of product. And I don't want to do litigation as a lawyer. I don't want to deal with people angry with each other. I want to be a transactional lawyer. I want to make deals between people who want to make a deal together.
Very cool. I didn't know you were a singer-songwriter. I had no idea you were in Imagine Dragons or part of Imagine Dragons for a while. We were always focused on legal stuff, I guess.
Yeah.
So very cool that you're able to use the law degree to get exposure to an industry in a way that, suited you and your lifestyle. And
Yeah.
you mentioned, so this film and TV class that you took at law school, was that the class from Bert and Bonnie that I also
Yep.
took probably either a year after you or maybe even with you for? Uh,
Yeah. Bonnie Eskenazi and Burt Fields, two of them just incredible entertainment lawyers. Bonnie primarily litigation. Burt is kind of a rare hybrid who did litigation and talent rep. An absolute legend. He just passed a couple years ago. But yeah, two wonderful people. Great class. I love that class.
and representing if I remember right, it was Tom Cruise and James Cameron and just the best of the best.
Yep.
So, what do you most enjoy about your job now that you've been doing it for more than a decade?
It definitely is a job. I don't actually know anybody who loves being a lawyer, if I'm going to be honest. And I fall in that category. I don't love it. But I do love that I'm working adjacent to creativity that I believe in, right? I get to be selective. I love my clients. I love them as human beings, but I also really love the stuff they're making. And it's really exciting for me to, hey, this is one of my favorite albums of the year, and it's also my client. So getting to be adjacent and help artists that I believe in pursue their dreams and try to bring it to as wide an audience as possible and have a lasting, successful career. That's really fulfilling for me.
I can imagine that feeling every time work on a deal and then you see that come to light, whether, on national television or on the radio. That's got to be just such a rush knowing that you helped kind of facilitate that work. So that's got to be really cool to have a part in some sort of contract deal where you then hear the song on the radio or you see the movie on television or in the theaters, knowing that like you were there at the beginning and you've been, I guess that there's probably some excitement too in like the anticipation of when this thing hits and then you're able to see it come to light and have been a part of that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, some of the projects I work on, songs might be written a couple years in advance, but I've got movie projects I've been working on for 7, 8 years that are getting close, and I'm going to see this in the theaters, and that's exciting.
Oh, very cool. Okay, so what's the biggest challenge of your job as an entertainment attorney?
Um, for me, it's managing workload. So, and I didn't really think about this going into the career at all. I'm a department of one. So I don't have paralegals or secretaries. I do all my work myself. I don't have associate lawyers who do the work that I do that I can, if I get busy, shift stuff off to. And the way my practice works is I have clients and I handle all of their entertainment contracts. And they might be busy at some times, they might not be busy at some times. And they might have been at this level in their career when I started, they might be at this level now.
Yeah.
And so I don't have a lot of control over when just a lot of work starts flooding in, unless I want to fire a client, which it's like I'm terrible with that. I don't really ever do that. So um, it gets busy sometimes, and that can be really stressful. That I have just a lot of things coming in, just tons of emails popping up and things I need to handle. As a litigator, I did some litigation early in my career. Not a lot, but a few cases. Like you just like you got one case and you work on it all day, and it's weeks and months, and that's your thing. And then you get another case.
Mhm.
Uh, Transactional entertainment law, I'm working on like 10 different deals every single day. And some of those will spill into the next day or they'll come back in a couple of weeks. But like it's just there's so many things going on. So just learning how to prioritize and manage my time and keep my amount of work at, a reasonable level. Because part of why I did this is I want to have a life outside of work.
Yeah, one of the challenges for most attorneys is managing that workflow and the work-life balance. So as you think about students who are learning about intellectual property, negotiating deals, contracts, what should they most know about those topics? I know it's a big question, but if you were to pass on, information to the next generation of students who are thinking about this, what would you most want to share with them?
Yeah. I probably give two pieces of advice. The first is be aware that what you're going to be doing a lot of your time is reading long, boring contracts that people don't want to read. And hopefully figuring out how to make contracts shorter and less long and less boring, and less, sometimes it's a strategy. It's like you want it to be long and boring so the other person doesn't read it.
Mm.
I try not to do that, but I'm definitely across the table I'm definitely reviewing those kinds of contracts. What you're going to be doing, like the task is you're thinking practically about what your client wants, what the other side wants, and how to make that work and compatible. And you're looking for loopholes, right? It's almost like you're reading instruction manuals for board games and you're looking for ways to cheat.
Wow.
Like that's the mindset you got to have so that you can plug any holes in a contract so that if something bad happens down the road, you're covered. So that's like, if you want to know what I'm doing, that's the hardest part of what I'm doing is the reading the contracts. I love emails and phone calls and communicating. Hardest part is just reading long, boring contracts. My best advice is about negotiating, because that's what I do. Like I make deals, right? And as I said, I make them in the context of people who are coming together to make something together. I'm not negotiating in a dispute. I'm not typically in that scenario, which is different. But in my scenario, my strong advice is keep in mind, especially in the entertainment industry, your industry is probably not going to be a huge pool, and reputation matters. Relationships really matter. People stop working with other people if a deal was a terrible experience. The negotiation of the deal, or the way the parties dealt with each other afterwards, or even just the terms of the deal. So I'm not a believer in fighting for the best possible, most aggressive terms you can ever get. I think you want a deal that makes both sides happy. That's a real win-win. I think not only are you more likely to get more business and have a good reputation in the industry, but I also think you're actually going to get better performance if both sides are really incentivized by a deal. So I'm a big believer in finding what's fair, and then just really fighting for a fair deal that's really good for both sides, as good as possible. Um, I think that sets you up much better for long-term success.
So really interesting. First of all, do you like board games?
Uh, I kind of, I don't hate them. I don't love them. I don't play them too often.
I've never heard that analogy. That's an interesting analogy, but I can, right when you said it, it's like, oh, that makes total sense.
Yeah.
And then in terms of negotiation, so I've taught negotiation and I've read a bunch of research on negotiation. And what's interesting about it is so often in the academic environment, the research is conducted as one-off negotiations. And so some of the things they teach don't apply as much to the real world because everything's a one-off. Like if you know you are never going to see this person again, then you can get away with things that are not going to work if you're in the entertainment law community, which turns out is probably pretty dang small.
Yeah. That's why I made the distinction between like dispute negotiation. If I'm trying to settle a lawsuit, I probably do want to get the most aggressive offer. Like that's what my client is going to want at least,
Yeah.
right? But yeah, for transactional work, when it's repeat business in an industry or the start of a relationship, like if your label got a terrible, like if you got the most amazing record deal in the world, your label's not financially incentivized to stick with you in the long run if things don't work out. And they're not financially incentivized to spend a lot of money on you.
Yeah.
They're just betting on you making it happen for yourself and making the money back. Otherwise, it's like you had your chance. So I like deals that yeah, keep people happy. And I mean, I've had times I've told my clients, please don't work with this person again. Their lawyers are unreasonable.
Mm.
And the deal terms they're fighting for are super unreasonable, and they're insisting on them. Like maybe we'll make the deal with this person. Maybe that we'll give them what they wanted, but we're not going to work with them again because it was a terrible experience. And that happens.
Really interesting insight that I think is easy to underappreciate, especially for people just entering their careers when they feel like, they're entering an ocean and there's all these people. But just yesterday, I was interviewing a Navy SEAL, and I have only interviewed one previous Navy SEAL ever. And the first Navy SEAL that I interviewed, he shared a story about a bad jump that he had. And so yesterday, when I was talking to this new Navy SEAL, he's like, oh, yeah, I was on that jump. It's like when you get in these communities, they are so small. And so I really appreciate that advice to think long term and try to take care of your community and well, at least maintain good relationships with the community. Well,
Yeah.
maybe last question as we wrap up here. Is there any work that you think of as you think back on your career that you are most proud of, and why are you most proud of that work?
Yeah. I'll give you the honest answer first, and then I'll give you what the answer should be. Or do you want me to flip that
Yeah,
order?
no, let's do it. Yeah, however you want.
The honest answer is when my client has something that's really hugely successful. That's whatever work I did involved. That's the most exciting. That's the biggest. That's what I'm most proud of. I've got a client right now. He's the number one most streamed song of the year on Spotify. That's my biggest thing this year.
Amazing.
Yeah, that's exciting. That's fun. Um, what it probably should be is when I get really good value for a client. I had a producer client sell his catalog recently. So he's selling all his royalty streams, right? He's getting a big payday in exchange for giving somebody else the kind of dribble over the years. And going into that, I first helped him audit one of the biggest bands he works with. He's got a lot of records, a lot of royalties with this one band. And through some careful reading of contracts and some negotiation, we got a result from the audit that added $3 million to his catalog value
Wow.
when we sold his catalog. So like that's something I'm very proud of where, for the client, like that's what I should be more proud of outcomes like that, I guess. But the truth is I'm more excited about the song he had produced with this other band that was huge that I love.
Oh, very cool. Well, there's a saying in negotiation, something like, you can never make more money per hour than you can while negotiating. pretty cool that you were able to make $3 million in, a few hours of careful reading of contracts. But again, so cool to hear your connection to the music and the success of people that we all know and follow and enjoy. So, well, Harry, this again was a pleasure for me. So great to catch up. Look forward to sharing these lessons with the students and re-listening to this again because it's fun to hear your perspective on entertainment law. So thanks again, Harry, for coming on today.
Thanks so much. It's been great. Really appreciate it.